From the side bay to the valley, from the west side to the east side. Everybody very happy, 'cause the sun is shining all the time. It's like another perfect day. I love LA.
Oh, speaking of loving LA, welcome to Too Much CGI. Bill, is that you out there on the Golden Coast?
I am out here in LA where I love the smog, where I love the people, where I love Hollywood, where I love just the general laid-back feel of the West Coast versus the East Coast. And when you're out here, holy shit, you notice the difference. You notice the difference immediately when you try to cross the street.
All I know is that, the Schuylkill Expressway has its problems as far as traffic goes. But if we had problems like they have traffic-wise out in California, there'd be shootings every day. Not that there's not. There'd be vehicular slaughter every day.
Oh, no. It's terrible traffic. Terrible traffic on the 405.
But it seems to be a way of life.
It's a way of life. And then nobody's in a rush.
Yeah.
Nobody's in a rush. One of the craziest things they do out there, and I don't know to this day if it's legal or not, but motorcycles are allowed to drive between the cars on highways.
I hear that's legal in certain states. Not here. They do it here in Pennsylvania, but it's not legal. But some places it is.
I always thought it was because California figured out. So I ride a Harley. If you have a Harley running at a stoplight, for too long, your balls are burning. So you got to keep the bike moving. So I figured maybe California was like, we already have traffic problems. We already have these 2-lane highways where, if you don't have, they're carpool lanes. Basically, if you don't have more than one person in the carpool lane out here in California, you'll get like a $500 fine.
Wow.
So you'll see all these cars in the carpool lane. They either have mannequins or they have tinted windows, so you can't tell that there's really one person in there. But yeah, otherwise you're driving with the plebs in the regular lanes, and these motorcycles just come tearing, past you. You will always be in traffic in California. But when you're sitting there parked in here, you're like, what the fuck? Somebody's gonna die. But these bikers are so good at just like riding between the cars. They never,
Wow.
as long as I've been out here, I've never seen them take off a side view mirror.
That's incredible. That's incredible.
But it seems to be legal because they do it when cops are stuck in traffic, and you never see the cops turn on the lights. So I'm just assuming it's legal out here.
Wow.
It's crazy different out here.
Well, we're not here to talk about traffic. Tell me some good stuff you're getting into while you're out there. Getting into any of that trouble we talked about last show?
I can't remember what we talked about as trouble on the air and what we talked about as trouble off the air.
You said you were going to try and stay out of trouble. And you said likely you're just going to stay in your apartment or Airbnb and just watch the trouble pass you by.
Oh, no, I fucked that up right away. Right away.
Well, that's good.
So you want to hear about what my trip's been so far?
Yeah, I do.
So I flew in to LAX, right? The LA airport, the famous LA airport. It's a big airport. I had to do a talk at the NAMM show. The NAMM show stands for I think it's the National Association of Music Merchandisers.
Not NAMBLA, not the National Man Boy Love Association. This was NAMM in LA, but not NAMBLA.
Right. Well, I thought I was going to NAMBLA, so
Jesus Christ.
I dressed completely wrong for this. No, this was the NAMM show. So the NAMM show has been something that's been on my radar since I was a kid, right? So I'm 14 years old reading Guitar World magazine. I'm 48 now. That's how long this thing's been around. And they would talk about the NAMM show. And, in my head, it's the world's biggest conference. Every musician brand is there. Rock stars are there. Everybody's there. So I finally got a chance to go when they were kind enough to ask me to speak. I talk about search engine optimization, something I'm good at.
Mm-hmm.
And they brought me in a few years ago, the last show before pandemic. So now pandemic happened and I'm still going and speaking at the NAMM show every year in Anaheim. And it's a different show. So they're trying to figure out how to fit in with this new world. But the coolest thing about where the NAMM show is, it's in the Anaheim Convention Center.
I've never been, but I've seen people cover shows like online and stuff from there.
Like which shows? Because I'm leading to something.
There's like a horror convention. Last year's Star Wars Celebration was held there.
That's what I was. Yep.
Yeah. So there's a lot of big shows that take place at Anaheim Convention Center.
That's how big this is.
Yeah.
That's how big it is. So I did my talk. I, rubbed elbows, or what do they call it? Rubbing elbows with.
I hope you stopped at the elbows.
Well, yeah, I would always stop at the elbows. I'm not rude.
Classy guy. Keeping it classy.
Yeah. But I had a great time, great talked to a lot of people. And then out of the blue, some friends said, I just saw you posted on social media that you're here in LA. We just got tickets at the Comedy Store. And I've always wanted to go. You know what the Comedy Store is?
A lot of famous comedians I know got their start at the Comedy Store.
Yeah. So to me, that was just, I have never seen the Comedy Store. I've always wanted to go. Was it kind of like old school? Would I go there and get some shitty comedians? No, man. I went there and it was one of the best comedy shows I've ever seen in my life. So it's a Thursday night at the Comedy Store and I'm crying laughing. Sadly, I don't know who all of them were. I know one of them was a actress on Sabrina, the Teenage Witch. You ever watch that show?
No.
Damn it. What's her name? I think her name is Caroline Ray or Rhea.
Oh, yeah, I know her.
So she was one of the comedians. The Sklar brothers, I think their names are. You know what they are?
Sklar? I've heard of them. Yeah, I think I've seen them on Comedy Central.
Yeah, two twins that sort of finish each. Yeah. They did that gag like, I'm going to finish your sentence. You'll finish mine. Yeah, that was like a migraine after about 5 minutes of that.
Just from laughing? Or just annoying of the Sklar brothers?
Yeah. Hey, guys, if you're listening to this show, it's time for a new act. But everybody else was just hysterical. So it was such a great time. And we're sitting in the crowd, and next to me is some guy. And Caroline Ray says, oh, I know who you are. Right. So I'm like, me?
You're right.
And then I'm like, oh, I mean, this guy next to me. She goes, you're Forest Blakk. What are you, a platinum artist? And he goes, double platinum. So I'm sitting next to a double platinum artist at a comedy show named Forest Blakk. I go, who in the fuck is Forest Blakk?
I'm thinking the same thing right now.
How are you double platinum? How does she know about you and I don't? I don't know who it is. To this day, I've asked about 10 people, young people, like, who's Forest Blakk? They go, I never heard of that fucker. Wow. It's a double platinum artist. Somebody must have heard of this fucker.
You Google him?
Yeah, it said like pop singer from Canada. So maybe he's only a star in Canada. I don't know.
He didn't go double platinum. He went double loony, eh?
Yeah. So he was there for like a set or two, and then he got up and split. But yeah, the Comedy Store, they ended up having like 3.5 hours of comedy.
Wow, that's a long show. How long of a night was it? Like you get out of there like 3 a.m. or what?
No, not that late. So we had the 8 o'clock tickets, and there were 10 o'clock tickets. So I was like, oh, okay, so we'll do comedy till 10, and then probably the next crew of comedians will come on. Well, the 10 o'clock was sold out, so we grabbed 3 tickets at the 8 o'clock, and somehow they went on for 3.5 hours. So the Comedy Store must have different stages, and we just hung out. And I'm telling you, dude, like I'm pretty critical on funny. All of them were great. All of them were great. Except the Sklar brothers. They were weird.
Aye. Any celebrity sightings while you're out there?
Yeah, Forest Blakk.
I'm sorry, you did say that. But any celebrities I would know?
Not this time. Not really.
No.
But I did go to some famous places. You didn't ask about that.
Okay. Well, what famous places have you seen?
First, let me tell you that as you get older, you've seen your dad. You've seen, he starts to focus on things like World War II. You know what I mean? Like they all have their things, their old-fashioned things. My old-fashioned thing is I've realized is going to movie sites, like going to shooting locations.
But let me interrupt you here because we talked about this a few shows back. You went to go see the Ghostbusters Firehouse and you were disappointed or at least taken aback by what you saw there because it didn't match with what your expectations were. Is that still the case for these California sightings?
Oh, more so.
Oh, no.
Yeah, but that's kind of the charm of it. They create in these old 80s movies a universe that you don't believe is real. Everything you saw as a kid in the 80s, you thought they made it up, right? So,
sure.
Yeah. So when you go and you realize, oh, they didn't make it up. They just picked a location and they kind of improvised. So one of the places I went to was South Pasadena. I love Back to the Future.
Mm-hmm.
So I wanted to go to the McFly's house. I wanted to go see Barney McFly's house, Lorraine McFly's house. I wanted to see the tree where he was a peeping Tom.
He's a peeping Tom.
Yeah.
So South Pasadena, I get the address. I go. I'm driving up and down the road, and I feel like a fucking peeping Tom because it is such a normal neighborhood, and there's nobody else doing what I'm doing. So I'm driving up and down the road with the GPS. I have the address. I found it on Google,
Mm-hmm.
but I look like a stalker. I look like I'm up to no good as I'm driving slowly past these houses, and I found the tree and I found Lorraine's window, and it's like, oh, thank God, I'm the fucking peeping Tom now.
You've become Crispin Glover.
And I see the owners of these homes looking at me. They're out. It's a great day. People know what I'm doing.
Of course. I mean, you may have been the only person doing it that night. People do this all the time. Have to. It's on Google. Why else would it be on Google if people aren't looking it up?
Well, that's how I got good with what I'm doing. I'm like, you know what, motherfuckers? You know what house you bought.
That's right. That's right. Unwritten contract. You fucking signed it.
But it was trippy. I drove down that road that I must have seen that scene 50 to 100 times.
Yeah.
And I'm on the road, and it's just a regular suburban road in southern Pasadena. Let me name drop a little bit. I've got a friend who's out there. Mark Singer is a guy that I know.
Yeah.
Mark Singer he was in the
Beastmaster.
Yes. Beastmaster. He and I have become friends, and he took me on a tour one time, and he drove me around like Studio City, basically all the places around the studios. And he had some really great insights. He goes, so what happened is Hollywood, LA in general, as it was being built, there were a lot of different groups of, ethnicities coming in, and everybody comes in and they have their own style of architecture. So you had neighborhoods all through LA that looked like, things that you saw all around the country. So there's parts of LA that look like Maine. There's parts of LA that look like, Boston and Philadelphia. There's parts of Maine that look like, whatever. So that's why LA worked out so well as the location to shoot movies, because there are so many different pockets in LA or right outside of LA that look like spaces all over the world.
This is why you can film a show called Always Sunny in Philadelphia in Hollywood.
Yep. And they have a place called Patty's Pub in Philly, and you drive by and it's not Patty's Pub. That actual bar is in LA.
Yeah. The Patty's Pub you're talking about, though, in Philly is owned by Rob McElhenney.
Oh, is it? And he's one of the actors. Yeah, I've been there. I didn't know he owned it.
Yeah, you and I have been there.
Have we?
Yeah.
I've been there once. I guess I was there with you. I don't remember.
You were there with me. We forgot to pay the kiosk. We got a fucking parking ticket.
Did we really?
Yeah.
Did we pay it, or did we just drive off like punks?
I don't know.
You have a warrant for your arrest outside of in South Philly.
I think it was Amy's car. It's her problem.
I'm going to squeal on her. I'm going to send the Philadelphia feds her information so they can collect on that ticket. But yeah, that's how LA works. And it's crazy just driving around and seeing how different everything is. You've never been out there, huh?
Furthest west I've ever gone was Dallas, Texas, and turned around and came back home. But hopefully one day I hope to get out there. But planning a trip, though, like for me, like you're going out there, you have a set goal. You're going to the NAMM show. You've been going out there the past couple of years. Like for me to sit down and plan a trip to go to California, it almost seems too overwhelming because you have North Cal, you have SoCal, you have like, I think I'd want to focus on the San Diego area, but I don't know. There's like too many options.
And that's California. Everything is amazing. San Diego is amazing.
Mm-hmm.
We went, Amy and I went to San Diego one time, and I always say the name wrong and Californians laugh at me. La Jolla, that's the name of it. So it's spelled Lajolla. So I'm always like, you ever go to La Jolla? And I'm like, you dumb fucker. But La Jolla out in San Diego, it's one of the coolest beaches I've ever seen. It's all like big rocks that kind of lead to the water. And there's sea lions. And you just walk next to the sea lions. It's like, where in the fucking world would you ever just be 5 feet from a live sea lion? Well, in San Diego, California, you can do that.
I mean, I know it's a huge craft beer scene out there, too. I mean, some of the original craft breweries are located out in San Diego. So, I'm not as into craft beer as what I used to be, but it's still things I'd like to check out.
There's two things that happen. I come back feeling the most calm and the most like at peace. Just something about it puts my brain at rest.
Mm-hmm.
And I also come back very creative. I wanted to come out here and just basically spend the time being creative, just getting away. But I get so distracted by all the fun shit out here. I only got one more day left. And I've got so much shit that I wished I had gotten done. I'm just, as I get older, I just want to create time for more trips to LA. It's my happy place. It's chaos, but it's chaos that I seem to thrive in.
Yeah. See, I travel for food. Whenever I go on a trip or plan a road trip or a vacation, I always seem to, like 2 years ago, I drove all the way to Nashville just because I wanted hot chicken right from Nashville. When I went to Dallas, partly it was for work, but also I wanted to eat Texas barbecue. I wanted to eat brisket while I was in Texas, and I did. Next stop, I want to head over to Missouri and get some barbecue pork in Missouri because that's their thing. Maybe eventually head up to Maine, get myself a lobster roll. I want to go to the different regional places and eat their delicacies, their regional food. That's kind of how I travel. California's kind of a melting pot. I know they have like incredible Chinese food and stuff like that out there, but I don't know. I feel like I can get incredible Chinese food anywhere.
That's funny. Yeah, I never really thought of California as having any special food. And
Yeah, I think it's such a big melting pot that there's no like regional delicacies. I know like you go up upper northwest, like you're up in like Oregon and Washington, they're all about like fish that are caught right in the ocean. Not that you can't get an awesome seafood scene in, California as well, but like, you go to Pike's Place in Seattle and you can go right there to the pier and they're famously throwing fish around like a bunch of assholes. You can then eat that fish if you want to. But yeah, there's no like real regional draw to California unless you're a wine drinker, which I'm not. So, the draw's never been to California for me.
Hollywood to me was this universe I was never going to get to. So now that I'm older and I, have the ability to go and explore it on my own time and in my own way, every single year I'm there, I just unlock more and more of its charm. And I swear to God, I'm falling in love with LA. And I'm an East Coast guy. East Coasters are, as we were saying earlier in the show, I mean, they're very wired very differently.
Yeah.
The temperaments are hugely different. But going out there, it just feels calmer.
So now that you're known as the California Creeper, now that you've been going up and down in front of Lorraine's house, what other kind of spots did you check out movie-wise?
Well, you'd be happy to know that also in South Pasadena, you could actually walk to it from Lorraine's house, Pee Wee Herman's house. I found the Pee Wee Herman's, what's the first one called? Big Adventure.
Big Adventure, yeah. You sent me a picture of it. I couldn't even pick it out. I was like, I don't know what this is. What is this a picture of? And then you sent me a picture of Paul Rubens. And I was like, oh, I should have fucking known. Of course it was. It looks just like it. Like a double A frame house.
Yeah, it's just somebody's house.
Yeah, it's wild.
And I had to park in front of it and take pictures like a fucking creeper. So I found that one.
Oh, man. I feel like they almost by law should have to have like a red Schwinn bike parked out front with tassels on the handlebars and a fucking tiger on the middle of it,
Yeah, sometimes these places do celebrate, they were in the movie, but I don't think I saw.
They'll embrace it.
Yeah. But I didn't see any this trip. The other weird thing about LA is you will see celebrities. They just walk past you at the grocery store. Nobody seems to see them.
That's weird.
They're just used to it.
This reminds me of a story. One time my wife and I were up in New York and we were walking pretty far uptown. We walked past Rod Stewart. And Jenny goes, that was Rod Stewart. And I go, that was the worst Rod Stewart impersonator I've ever seen in my life. And then I learned that, yeah, he just walks around all the time. He was probably going out to dinner. He had two people with him. And I was like, I wish I would have, just nodded and gave a salute and thanked him for some music he gave us. But I just thought it was a bad impersonator.
Yeah. Well, when I was younger, my friend Paul, right?
Yeah.
We'll talk more about Paul later. He's still in Hollywood.
We got to get Paul on here one of these days.
He's got stories, dude.
Oh.
Holy shit. So my friend Paul, who Scott knows, he knows, he's part of Brother Steve's crew. We're all part of the same crew together. We would go up to New York a lot when we were like 15, 16, like real young. And being that young, we were very starstruck. So he found, and Paul is the most social person you've ever met. You'll fall in love with this guy. He's so charming. So I'd go up to New York and he had all these connections that already knew where people were. So he would say, hey, Bill, let's go here. Okay, no GPS. So we had to do this with like a map. But I know Rod Stewart is staying here. So when you said Rod Stewart, that's what sparked this. So we're standing outside a hotel room. We're waiting for Rod Stewart. We're waiting. Hours go by. And he would get this information from the limo drivers.
Oh, okay. That's a good source.
So as we're standing there, we're kind of standing and the limo driver's just waiting. He's waiting for Rod, waiting. Hours go by, 15 years old. Now 3 p.m. Now 5 p.m.
I feel like you're pissing your day away.
Whole day's gone. Wait for Rod Stewart. And I remember waiting for him. I don't think the fucker ever came out. But all of a sudden, the limo driver at one point looks at us and goes, kind of like, squirting his head like, look, see what that was? And we walk up and go, what are you trying to signal to us? He goes, that was Billy Joel. Like, just walk right past you, dumb fucks. So we run over, and there's Billy Joel. We grab him. Oh, my God, Billy Joel, we love you so much. You're amazing. This guy was cool as fuck. And he was just entertaining us high school kids. And you know what the fucker says to us? He goes, hey, you guys want to grab a bagel?
That's cool.
That's very cool. What do you think we said? No. We were too fucking scared to be in his presence. We couldn't believe it. The guy just offered us a bagel. He's like, yeah, I'm going to this bagel shop. I'll buy you guys a bagel if you want one. Bullshit like that. So I've met a lot of celebrities in my day, but there's only a few that really stand out as being real human beings. Billy Joel is one of them for sure.
That's cool.
And Rod Stewart, we never got to meet him.
How did Pee-wee's house stand up to your expectations?
Just a house in the middle of Pasadena. It really didn't look that out of the ordinary. It's the way they shoot these things that make it look like it's, not a real house, but it's just a regular house.
I mean, that's the nice thing about it, though. They did it practically. There was no CGI involved with that.
None back then. So one of the places I went to the mall, the Back to the Future Mall.
Oh, the Twin Pines, Lone Pines Mall.
Yeah. And I've already forgotten the name. Sorry, everybody. Use Google. You'll find it right away. It was had a Spanish name. I know I'm not even going to try. So I drove about an hour out to see it, and it's just a mall.
Is JCPenney still there?
It's not JCPenney. It's 24-Hour Fitness now.
Oh, okay.
And there's a spot where Marty McFly rolled down a hill to get to the mall quickly. Do you remember? He's like, I'm in a rush to get there. Yeah, that hill is still there. It's all still there. There was a homeless guy on that hill.
How many pine trees were out front?
None.
That
was a fraud. Where the sign was actually just a guardrail. And where they probably set up the cameras was now a Panera. So you see this and you're just like, all right, this is it.
There's nothing sacred.
But when you see it in context of the real world, you're like, that's amazing that they made this feel like such I don't even know what to say. I don't even have the words for it. When you watch this shit, it's a universe that doesn't exist. You'd never let it really seem real. It's all this giant pretend fantasy when you're watching these movies as a kid.
Yeah, but when I was a kid and I saw it, like, I kind of convinced myself when I saw the JCPenney sign that, like, oh, this was shot at Fairground Square Mall right here in my town. Had to be. It looks just like it. But it probably looked like every other mall in that time.
See, I must have looked at that and thought, oh, that's a set.
Oh.
Now being older, realizing, well, no, it's not a set. That would be a ridiculously expensive set to make a mall. And I think that might be why when I visit these sites, I go, holy shit, this was real.
Yeah.
Like, this was all functional shit. So like I said with the Lorraine, what was her name in that movie before it was McFly?
I don't know what her maiden name was.
But, you go to that setting, you go to that house, and, they showed up. They said, okay, so that's the house we're allowed to use. Well, why don't we have this guy climb that tree? All right, it's just a random tree that's already there.
Wasn't it like an old sycamore tree?
Looked like it.
Yeah.
So he just climbed the tree. They're kind of improvising. I bet you on the day they shot that, it's like, what if you climb that tree and pretend you're spying from the tree, since we have a tree there?
Yeah.
None of it is probably thought out. They probably figured it out the day they shot it because they had a tree perfectly placed in front of the window that they were allowed to use for filming.
Well, I doubt that they were like spotting for a location that had a tree outside of a house that they were looking for. You know what I mean? I don't think it would have went the other way.
But there are people that scout for movies.
Yeah, I understand that, but I think it's probably more the way you're saying, you're guessing that it went, where they were like, oh, there's a tree we can use, rather than we're specifically looking for a house that has a tree out front.
Yeah. Outside of that, I saw I've never said it out loud. What is the Die Hard building?
Nakatomi Plaza.
Nakatomi. Okay. Now it's called the Fox Plaza. So I went there, and it's just a very interesting building, just stands by itself. There was nobody in the parking lot, took a picture. I went, that's it.
You were never a big Die Hard guy. You said that before.
No, not a big Die Hard guy.
Check that one off the list.
Yeah. Well, there's some other things I saw, too, that I don't know if anybody else cares about, but it's the kind of shit that I like. But I can tell you a funny thing that happened. This is how lame I really am. And I'm going to share this with you. somehow I fucked up something, right? All of a sudden, I got the GPS hooked into the Jeep that I rented, and Google Android is powering the navigation, but I must have hit something with my hip or my ass or something. I changed the navigation to just generally the Hollywood Hills. So as I'm driving to one of the locations, and I know my area okay, but I still need GPS.
Mm-hmm.
And as I'm driving, I'm like, why is it taking me to the Hollywood Hills? But it must have put in some random address. So all of a sudden, my GPS is like, you're on Mulholland Drive. And I'm like, oh, shit. Well, that's awesome. It's a great drive. I'm passing, famous people's homes. But it's taking me to a place that has a dead end. And it's a dead end in a very rich person's cul-de-sac.
Oh, no.
I'm pretty sure this person owned that cul-de-sac. So as I come in, I'm like, what is this cul-de-sac? It is like a giant white wall, okay, all around the circumference of this cul-de-sac. It feels weird. It's like, this is just not normal. And somehow, as I kind of was turning around, the fucking door opens. A secret door opens up.
In this white wall.
In this white wall. And a Rolls Royce is pulling out. They did not expect to see me.
You didn't
I
expect
did not
to see
expect to see them. So I'm like, I'm clearly in somebody's owned cul-de-sac. So I'm like, let me get the fuck out of here. So I start to drive away, and I go to the first stop sign, and I stop and I wait for a while, because I want to see the fucker pull up behind me, and I want to look at my rearview mirror. He's already figured out that I'm, stalking him. I don't know who he is. So he's driving real slow. He won't let me get a look at him. So I keep going to the next stop sign. He's driving real slow. So it's like, oh no, I look like a stalker in the Hollywood Hills driving to people's homes. I was that guy.
Well, not to correct you, but if somebody has a Rolls Royce, their driver was driving real slow. They weren't driving anything.
Oh, I know you say that, but no, I think the owner was actually the driver of this.
Really?
Yeah. Because the little glimpse I got, it was nobody I recognized. It was probably a producer or somebody else
Sure.
with a lot of money. Not somebody I recognized, but it definitely wasn't the driver type.
Okay.
I don't know anything about Rolls Royces, but they must make Rolls Royces that people drive themselves. That's the kind of money that's out there. You're on the highway, you're on the 405, and there's a busted Kia, and then you look to the right, and right next to it is a McLaren, and it's like, oh wow, there's nothing in the middle.
Wow.
There's no Equinoxes, It's either an old neon from the 90s or it's a Lamborghini. There's no middle ground.
So you rented a car out there? You're not getting Ubered all over the place?
Yeah, I'd like to get a car. That way I can sort of go wherever I want.
Yeah, it's a good freedom to have. I've only Ubered once in my life, and it was just on a trip I had to Florida about 2 weeks ago. So I always rent. Or I'm more of a road trip guy where I'm going to take my own car and drive from home to wherever I'm going, stop 7 places along the way, and then drive it back to Pennsylvania.
Well, that's how you did Nashville. You mentioned Nashville a few minutes ago. I mean, that's one of those rare times where, hey, Bill, what are you doing? I'm in Nashville. Get the fuck out. I'm in Nashville, too.
You were there for NAMM, right?
That's right. Summer NAMM. Yeah.
East Coast NAMM, yeah. Yeah, that's nice. So while you're out there, are you having any time to read any emails or any correspondence we're getting for the show here in Mailbag?
I do have some email. And I know this is a little different of a show since I'm not doing it from home. But why don't we get into the email?
Mail, motherfucker.
Got an email from Jack Mulligan.
No shit.
Did I say that name right? It's a pal of yours.
Yeah, I work with this guy. You get more mail from him than I do.
He likes me more.
Oh, don't blame him.
I like that his last name rhymes with Mulligan.
Like a do-over?
Yeah.
Okay.
Give Jack a mulligan.
What's he have to say?
Do you guys think it would be entertaining to have a game where you describe popular movies horribly and the other has to figure out what it is? That is a fucking killer idea.
I feel like we do that every show, though. But I like it. I feel like Bill's like, oh, what's that one with the fucking guy? And he does the thing. And no, that's, yeah, we can do that.
God, that's so embarrassing for me. Yeah, who's that guy in that movie who did that thing with that girl who was in that show? And there was a dog. Do you remember the dog?
I'm down for playing any game, so I do like that.
I know we've had a lot of games lately, but that's just sort of in the flow. They're fun. They're fun to do. So this sounds like a fun one to do.
Yeah. I'm not tired of winning yet.
You do win most of them. I think you do win most of them. Thanks, Jack.
Thanks, Jack.
Hey, everybody. You can send us email as well. If you go to toomuchcgi.com, we got a forum there that you can send emails to us. Let us know what you want to hear about. We also have Twitter. You can go to Too Much CGI on Twitter and tell us what you like, what you don't like, what you want to hear more about. We love the feedback. It actually really helps us. We're loving this show. I mean, we're 20 episodes in, and honestly, this is my second podcast, and just the way that we've come together, the way that the audience has really showed their support, the feedback we're getting, it's rare, from my understanding, that a podcast ever gets any kind of feedback.
Yeah.
So the fact that you guys are sending it, thank you so much. That really gives us guidance. We need that guidance to keep on making stuff you like.
Yeah. Thanks, Jack, for their suggestion, and we will certainly do that in an upcoming show. Got a bit of an update. You're now talking to the number 9 overall podcast in Estonia. So thank you, Estonians. Still haven't heard from you. Still don't know that you're real, but I want to believe. Oh, no.
When that rings,
it's bad news.
Something happened.
Yeah. So I was talking to Amy this past week, and your wife, Amy, for those that don't know, and she tells me she never saw Rat Finka Boo Boo.
Oh, no. Mm-hmm.
And I remember,
yeah, this happened.
I remember where we watched Rat Finka Boo Boo, and there's no way Amy would have been there to watch it. But I don't view this as a big fuck uppery. What I view this is as a great opportunity. I'm almost jealous of Amy that she has this great entertainment that she has yet to experience. It's a good excuse to watch it again.
Like anybody's life. I've got a pretty seasoned existence so far. A few chapters. And Scott and Jenna got to know my ex-wife, and Scott and Jenna got to know my new wife. And yeah, sometimes that happens. So I watched that with my ex-wife and you guys.
She was like, what's this Rat Finka Boo Boo? I was like, oh, no. Yeah, that wasn't you.
Mm-mm. But she was there for Thanksgiving.
She was all about Thanksgiving.
Do you think Jenna will come hang out and watch Rat Finka Boo Boo with us?
Jenna will come hang out, and if Rat Finka Boo Boo gets put on, we're not going to up and leave.
We should have a Rat Finka Boo. We should stream Rat Finka Boo Boo for all our listeners to go, and we'll all watch it together.
That would be amazing. That would be a great live stream.
Is that a good idea? I've had about 3 whiskeys in the last, hour and a half, so everything I say could suck.
Well, I mean, I think whiskey's going to have to be flowing for a rewatching of Rat Finka Boo Boo, but yeah. No, I'm down for that. I'm definitely down.
Yeah, let us know. Listening out there. I mean, I'll go get StreamYard. We'll watch Rat Finka Boo Boo together. That'd be fun. There's plenty of technology out there to be able to watch a movie with with a group of people.
Hell yeah.
We should do that.
I like it. Only other fuck up I had, I kept talking about the new Rey movie being 15 years after The Last Jedi. It's 15 years after The Rise of Skywalker. To me, it's like The Last Jedi trilogy. So I said the wrong movie name, but yeah, that was a fuck uppery I had.
How does that work out with that character? So she's young. The Rise of Skywalker wasn't that long ago.
Right.
So it sounds like they're going to try to say it's 15 years later. She's older, wiser, more skilled, but she's still a young actress, isn't she?
She is, but you got to figure there was, 3 years in between each of those movies. When we first saw her in The Last Jedi, she would have aged 9 years just during that. So, I mean, that movie came out longer ago than what you think.
I guess you're right, because, yeah, like it seems like it was recent, but it also seems like it wasn't recent.
Yeah. So, I mean, you got to figure, maybe the light side of the Force is going to keep her looking young.
I liked her. I wanted to see a better ending for her.
Yeah. A better character arc, I think. I wish she wouldn't have been a Palpatine. Chief Palpatine did not need to be her grandfather. And last show, we kind of got into this, and I was talking about Disney. I don't want to be a Disney troll. I don't want to come across that way, and I kind of felt like it was sounding that way when I listened to playback here on Monday. I'm not a Disney hater. I'm a huge Disney fan. I'm a huge Star Wars fan. I just wish they didn't have everything connect. Mandalorian's going good. Then they had Luke Skywalker have to come in and take Grogu. I don't think that had to happen. I think it's a great standalone story the way it is,
As I understand it, that was production problems. Like they needed content. They were filming Mandalorian on the side. Boba Fett wasn't going well. So they had to quickly go, we need filler. Well, why don't we take some of the Mandalorian and throw it in? That's why that happened, as I understand it. And it really did jar this whole season of Mandalorian. because there's good episodes and there's bad episodes. But if Luke finding or those scenes with Luke and Grogu that were in last year's Boba Fett were supposed to happen this season in Mandalorian, I don't even know how that fits in. So it's probably one of those cases where basically the directors and everybody had to get together and go, time to pivot. This is like our 812, pivot for the year, but we're going to pivot again.
Yeah.
That's hard to make shows like that when you're constantly changing your shit.
Well, episode 8's coming out this week, so it's the season finale. So we'll see how they wrap up this season.
I got to tell you, I've been watching Andor.
Yeah? You like it?
We shit on it a few episodes ago, many episodes ago.
I just talked about how it was really slow going and nothing great was happening. You know what I mean? There was nothing earth-shattering.
Well, my friend was like, listen, you're not giving it enough of a chance. How many episodes have you seen? I said, I saw 2. He goes, yeah, that's the problem. The 3rd episode is where things really get exciting. So I gave it a try. I watched the first 2 again and the 3rd, now the 4th and the 5th and the 6th, and I'm hooked.
Yeah? Andy Serkis is a great actor. He had one of the best parts in that entire series, in my mind.
One of the things I think they're doing really well is they're using a lot of amazing locations.
That's true.
It feels like a big fucking show.
Yeah.
And there's times where you can tell they filmed this to look like it was shot in the 70s.
Okay.
And I wonder if people did you notice that? Like some of the hairstyles, everything in the design of the Empire, like as you were just walking by their fucking whatever, their fax room, their supply closet.
Right.
Everything looked like 70s. Right. Is that Deco? What is the name of that?
Art Deco, like the Art Deco style.
Did you notice that? Everything looks like it was from that genre.
I didn't take notice of it at the time while watching it, but hearing you say that and thinking back, I can certainly see it. Yeah.
I even think they picked actors that looked like 70s actors. I even think they wrote script that sounds like 70s movies. And when I started to pick up on that, I was like, this is brilliant. So my question really is, the people that are making that are not the people that are making the other Star Wars material.
No.
Why not? Who are these people? And how did they pull this off? It's different, but it's also beautiful.
And here's the thing. Andor was good. It wasn't hands down my cup of tea. I didn't hate it. I watched it. I enjoyed it. I don't think I would have had a hard time convincing you to come back. I couldn't have sold you on coming back to watch it. I'm glad you did.
Yeah, I thought I was done because it didn't feel like Star Wars. And now I'm realizing because it doesn't feel like Star Wars, that's what's interesting about it. One of the last one of the last Mandalorian episodes showed, you're so much better at this than me. Remember they had a doctor and he used to be a bad guy.
Dr. Pershing.
And he was a clone guy.
Yeah.
Yeah. So they basically captured him and now they're trying to convert him to the
amnesty program. It's like Operation Paperclip during World War II.
You're like a goddamn god with this stuff. I don't know how you do it. So like I lose track right away. But I really was interested to see, so that's what they would do. What would the rebels do when they capture the Empire? And I started to get more and more interested in that. And that's what Andor is about. It's like, here's all the stuff you don't see in the main movies.
But I still feel that by having all these stories connect, it almost makes the galaxy feel so small. It's supposed to be a vast galaxy with unknown charted territories. And I just feel like everything connects. And I feel like it doesn't have to. I also feel as much as, I enjoyed Andor for what it was, I don't think that's bringing in younger viewers. And that's what we were talking about before. How are they going to connect with these younger viewers? Like Mandalorian, my kid liked Grogu. It was a marketing ploy. People love Grogu toys. Grogu probably sold a shit ton of toys. My kids don't even know his name's probably Grogu. And it's not like it's not on. They just aren't seeking it out. You know what I mean? I just don't think that they're writing stories that kids are going to care about.
Marvel, they're the sister or brother or whatever you want to say to Star Wars.
Yeah.
They're interesting because I see them doing things. For instance, this new Marvels movie, right? That's clearly a 3-woman team trying to appeal to the female audience.
Sure.
Nothing wrong with that. So is that what Star Wars needs to do? Do they need to get more Andor type shows? Meaning Andor fits a certain portion of the audience. Maybe they should maybe Ahsoka should be created for women. Maybe they should create the next whatever for fanboys, who were 15 when this shit came out. So if they broke up their kinds of storytelling into that kind of genre, more tropey specific things,
yeah.
would that be a better franchise?
Maybe. I mean, I just feel like whenever they try something new, the dark side of the fan base, as I'll call them, shits all over it, and they're loud and they're vocal. And that pivot you talked about, like they did in Boba Fett, they pivot back to fan service. And fan service falls short for like younger viewers that have no idea what the origin of all this is. So they play it safe by going back to fan service, but I feel like I'm being pandered to a lot of times. I don't want that. I want new original stories. Or like you said, I want to see stories brought to the big screen, such as Knights of the Old Republic, and stories that have been established that maybe are just new to the masses because they're not reading the Star Wars books or playing the Star Wars video games. Those stories are compelling stories and they're fully developed characters. And I don't think a lot of people know about them. But can you move forward by going backward? I don't know.
I think my thought was before that Star Wars had a tone and you had to stick with that tone.
Mm-hmm.
I don't believe that's so much the case anymore. I think I'm okay with them exploring other tones.
Sure.
But then, sometimes it's not going to feel like Star Wars. But then how far are they going to go? So this is kind of some of the issue I had with Marvel. All of a sudden they put out Thor Ragnarok, which was like slapstick comedy.
Yeah.
The tone didn't fit. And I had an issue with it because I liked it. I didn't care that the tone didn't fit. I was okay. Just like in comics, sometimes it's like the 5th episode of a series of Thor is written by a different artist or drawn by a different artist, written by a different writer. So the tone can jump around. But that's the comics. Are we okay with that in our movies? Maybe it just matters if it's good. Maybe we can accept anything as long as we're enjoying it without, any faults.
Yeah, I don't think it has to have a label, Enjoy it for what it is. Don't bitch about it for what it's not.
I mean, how great is it that we have these shows that are just constantly pumping out Star Wars stuff?
Well, yeah, I mean, I said before, like, we are spoiled that we have Star Wars things to complain about. You know what I mean? Like, how fucking entitled are we? Like,
man, these first world problems of ours. We're not pleased with the Boba Fett script.
Right. So, as I say, I don't want to be a Star Wars troll. Here I am bitching about Star Wars. And I'm really not bitching about Star Wars. I am enjoying what they're putting out. I can't complain about it. I can't point fingers and bitch and moan. Like I said, enjoy it for what it is. So to get off of this, Bill, for someone such as myself that's never been to California, does it live up to the hype of La La Land and the glitz and the glamour, or what are you experiencing out there?
Again, it is two universes out there. It's glitz and glamour and holy fuck, how does somebody have that much money to own a cul-de-sac versus, wow, there's a lot of poverty. There's a lot of homeless. There's just no middle class out there that I can tell, at least in that portion of LA that I like to drive around.
Okay.
But I would highly recommend it. Just go see it. Just go see the Hollywood Hills. Just go visit Sunset Boulevard. Go see where Motley Crue grew up. Like I did that too. I walked down the Whiskey a Go-Go, the Rainbow Room, like all that stuff. It's great stuff. It reminds you of how much those old days just made you happy. So it's kind of like my Disneyland. Maybe it's my Disneyland. I get to go to LA and it's my Disneyland. So if you grew up in the 80s and you're kind of like me and you really love this shit and it really made a massive difference to you, absolutely go to LA and go see what it's really like behind the scenes. It's a great treat.
Well, I can guarantee if I make my way out to California, my Disneyland will probably literally be Disneyland. So I'll have to take that in as well.
It's weird too, because you could see Disneyland and it's just stuck right in the middle of a city, basically in Anaheim. It's not like the Florida one where it feels like all of Florida is Disneyland. It feels like just a small portion of California is Disneyland.
Yeah, well, it's a different scene. Like a lot more people that go to Disneyland are locals. I mean, it's like us going to Hershey Park. Like it's like 15, 20-minute drive and we're there, stop in for the day and that's that. You're not planning an entire summer vacation around going there,
I've met people. You're from PA? Are you near Hershey? I am. Does it really smell like chocolate? It does. Isn't that amazing? It's kind of fucking annoying.
I always like the classic. Where are you from? I'm from Pennsylvania. Oh, whereabouts? Reading. Reading. Yeah, you ever play Monopoly? Uh-huh. You know the Reading Railroad? Oh, the Reading Railroad. No, I'm going to blow your fucking mind. It's the Reading Railroad. And you've been saying it wrong your entire life. No. Yeah, really. So that's usually how I introduce where I'm from. Well, fuck this. We're not being sponsored by Parker Brothers. You ready to do some news?
I love it. Let's do it.
All right, man. What you got?
So Yahoo.com reports Jonathan Majors dropped from upcoming projects as career fallout continues.
Is this going back to that whole domestic violence charge he had up in New York?
That's right. Jonathan Majors, known for his role as Kang the Conqueror in Marvel, has lost representation from talent agency Entertainment 360 and PR firm The Lead Company, LEDE, Lead Company, due to issues surrounding his personal behavior. Additionally, fashion house Valentino has mutually agreed with Majors that he will not attend the Met Gala. The U.S. Army has also removed him from their latest ad campaign. Majors was arrested and charged with multiple counts of assault, harassment, and attempted assault on March 25th, following a domestic dispute with an unidentified 30-year-old woman. Although Majors' lawyer claimed he is innocent and that the woman recanted her story, no video evidence has been released to the public to support his innocence. Majors is scheduled to appear in court on May 8th. Holy shit, this was supposed to be the big bad for the new, Avengers movies, and this guy is killing himself.
He was the new Thanos. I remember we did a show. If it said this happened on the 25th, we recorded a show on the 26th, and it happened like hours before, and it was very much in its infancy, and he was still claiming his innocence. And then I haven't heard anything about this story until like 2 weeks after that story dropped. That whole thing about the Army had like a whole campaign they were coming out with where he was in there talking about, Army recruiting and stuff like that. They dropped that entire campaign and came out with something different. Yeah, man, he's really he fucked himself good here.
I think I said it on a past show that when this started to happen, other people, started to speak up. Yeah, I'm surprised you're just figuring this out now. So apparently this guy's been, underground, kind of a creep, and now we're just finding it out. But it's crazy that Marvel's like, we're going to bank a lot on this. It wasn't Creed 3. I think he was the main.
Yes, he was.
What a rise and what a fall.
Yeah.
If he falls, who knows? He might survive this. You never know with Hollywood.
You know what? We thought that the guy from Rick and Morty was done deal, but he was found innocent as well. So maybe we'll see if this innocent until proven guilty, as they say. But he is still losing a lot of money through, sponsorships and publicity deals.
I always find that so fucking interesting. Who survives these scandals and who doesn't? Howard Stern, to this day, how the fuck did that guy get away with the bad behavior he did? Like, he seems to be untouchable, but other people do a little thing and it's big news. It's so crazy. It's like everybody seems to be judged differently in Hollywood based on what? Why does Howard Stern get away with the things he says, but somebody else says something else, and that's not okay? It's not okay that the guy from the Avengers said that. It's weird how public opinion just chooses who gets away with what.
Yeah, but I think a lot of it has to do with what people expect of you. People expect Howard Stern to say things like that. He's a shock jock. People aren't expecting the new role model for Marvel movies to be slapping women around, Like, it's what people expect of you. It's what you're representing, who you're representing, who your key demographic audience is. That's who's going to decide who they're going to forgive, who they're going to forget, who they're going to fucking crucify.
Yeah. The court of public opinion.
Always is.
Here's something from slashfilm.com. Why George Lucas cut Han Solo's cameo in Star Wars Revenge of the Sith. Did you know there was supposed to be a Han Solo cameo?
No, I don't think I did.
In the Star Wars prequels, George Lucas initially planned to include a cameo appearance of a 10-year-old Han Solo on the Wookiee planet of Kashyyyk under Chewbacca's care. Han was supposed to inform Yoda about General Grievous's location, but Lucas eventually decided to remove the scene for the sake of a tighter story. The brief interaction between Han and Yoda would have complicated the Star Wars timeline, as it is difficult to believe that Han would be skeptical of the Force after witnessing a Jedi Master in action. Additionally, the extended universe material And the Solo film had already established that Han and Chewie became friends after Han rescued him from a slave colony.
Yeah. I'm glad that they didn't do that. It would have felt shoehorned in there, and it certainly would have. I like the character arc of Han. He came in as a smuggler. He came in as a guy that was kind of out for himself. And then he had the change of heart to join the rebellion and fight for something bigger than him. That was the good character arc of Han in the original trilogy. I don't need that he was an informant for Yoda and ratting out Grievous, and he didn't need to be a 10-year-old. I like that he came out of nowhere, got hired at a cantina in Tatooine, and then became part of something bigger, you know?
To me, this is more fan service that we just didn't need.
This is some of the pandering that I'm glad. I wish they would have cut more things like this out that have happened lately. You know, it's not needed. It doesn't have to tie back in. We don't have to see everything. Some people can just come out of obscurity to become something bigger. They don't have to be a part of a rebellion from the get-go to, you know, they don't have to live their entire life through the rebellion. They can come into it much later on at a different point in their life.
Well, it's kind of like you said earlier. It's supposed to be this big, expansive universe, but these random people accidentally bump into each other amongst all the billions of people that are probably, you know, on all these planets. These people find each other. Bullshit. There's a trope. I guess it's a trope. It's that convenience, not convenience. It's that coincidental factor. It's like lazy writing. How do we make these two people bump into each other? Just say they bumped into each other. Don't even try to explain it. They just find each other. So I'm glad he cut that because it just wouldn't have made sense.
I agree.
These are midichlorians. They are tiny elements in your blood.
That didn't happen until episode 1.
I know that's controversial. Did you like that explanation of the Force?
I don't care. I like that. I don't need it to be something microscopic or something scientific. I like that it was something more spiritual. I like to think of it as something more spiritual than something traceable or something like. You can't say like, oh, I'm more spiritual than you. You know what I mean? That's something that's immeasurable. But now they have it down to this microorganisms in your blood. I didn't need that. Does it ruin it for me? No, I just don't want to believe that's how the Force works.
If you got shot, what kind of sound would you make?
Sound would I make? Where was I shot? If it was in the head,
Your dick.
I got shot in the dick. What kind of sound would I make? Wow.
That's right. That's exactly the sound you would make.
Right. You're exactly right.
So do you know what that sound is?
No.
It's called the Wilhelm scream.
The Wilhelm scream. Is that it? Yeah.
You've heard it over and over.
Every classic death scene in Hollywood.
Almost all of Spielberg's movies. Like you'll hear it in all the Star Wars. A stormtrooper will get shot.
Nazi gets killed in Indiana Jones, Last Crusade.
That's right. Yep. You hear it. I mean, it's all now they just put it into everything because it's a wink. So it's like, hey, guess what? We have the Wilhelm scream in our show. So it's fun to listen to these like old movies and shows and listen for.
Where was the very first time the Wilhelm scream was used? Do we know?
I'm glad you asked because on Kotaku.com, I'll never get it right. I like that you correct me every time. The original take of the iconic Wilhelm scream sound effect has been discovered in a series of old recordings from the University of Southern California's archives. The scream, originating from the 1951 film Distant Drums, has been used numerous times in films, TV shows, and video games. Actor Sheb Woolley, what a cool name, Sheb Woolley.
Sheb Woolley.
You think Shemp's a cool name. Sheb Woolley.
That's like getting a shimp.
Thank you, Cotton.
Actor Sheb Woolley recorded the scream, which gained popularity after being used in the original Star Wars. The clean version of the entire take, featuring Woolley's alternate renditions of the scream, was found by veteran audio engineer Craig Smith, who has been preserving the USC's old tapes for years. So that's kind of cool. It's just one of them old sound effects just got passed around in the films, and nobody owns it anymore. It's just public domain, I guess. Yeah.
That's so funny. And I know they used it in Star Wars. Yeah, that was certainly. I know, like when a TIE fighter like smashed into the side of a Star Destroyer, it was Wilhelm scream. But drums in the distance sounds like it was probably like a war movie, like a period piece.
Could be a cowboy movie.
That's true. I was thinking more like Civil War drums, but you're right.
But now that you know that it is a thing, you will never not hear it in any Star Wars movie. It's always in there. I've heard them pitch it up. I've heard them slow it down. So it's like, "Arr!"
Yeah.
But it's always there. You hear it a lot. Well, I pulled it up on Wikipedia, so I'm going to read through. So it has a couple instances before Star Wars. It says here, Star Wars 1977, which Luke Skywalker shoots a stormtrooper off a ledge. But going from there, we'll pick up. So Willow, it's been in Willow, all the Indiana Jones movies, The Book of Boba Fett, The Mandalorian, Reservoir Dogs, Kill Bill Volume 1, Lethal Weapon 4, The Lord of the Rings, The Two Towers, The Transformers, The Incredibles, Toy Stories, Cars, A Goofy Movie, Aladdin, The Fifth Element, The Majestic, Just Visiting, A Man Apart, Tears of the Sun, Hollywood Boulevard, Explorers Gremlins 2, The Second Civil War, whatever that is, I've never heard of, Matinee, Looney Tunes Back in Action, Lizzie McGuire, The Fairly Odd Parents, The Simpsons, The X-Files, Angel, Futurama, Invader Zim, The Shield, Sons of Anarchy, The Powerpuff Girls, Star Trek Enterprise, Adventure Brothers, Family Guy, Monster High, Raymond or Origins as a video game, Grand Theft Auto 5, The Witcher 3, Midnight Club, Mech Warrior 3, Star Wars Battlefront. Have I missed anything? My Little Pony, Breaking Bad. Wow, yeah. So it's used a lot. That's pretty awesome.
I love the Toy Stories in there. And the Powerpuff Girls. Oh, I love it. So?
I love the Wilhelm scream.
What was his name? Wooly?
Sheb Wooly.
Sheb Wooly.
Sheb.
Love it. Why the Wilhelm scream? I think it should be called the Sheb Wooly scream.
The Wilhelm scream is a stock sound effect that has been used in a number of films and TV series beginning in 1951. The scream is usually used when someone is shot, falls from a great height, or is thrown into is thrown from an explosion. The sound is named after Private Wilhelm, a character in The Charge at Feather River, a 1953 Western in which the character gets shot in the thigh with an arrow.
Not shot in the dick, though.
Oh, he's shot with an arrow. I don't know that that's a sound I'd make if I was shot with an arrow. I'd be, fuck! Now, there's the Wilhelm scream.
Love it. It is an iconic piece of Hollywood history.
Sure is. All right, last piece of news. Were you a Baywatch fan?
I watched it probably once it was in syndication. I don't think I wasn't watching it weekly, episodically released, but a fan, I don't know. It was on. I was young. I fell into that, titties on television.
Well, according to moviehole.net, Baywatch is being remade, dude. So we get so many more titties on TV. So many.
But wasn't it already remade like in a movie with Zac Efron?
Yeah, and it didn't do well. The Rock played David Hasselhoff's character.
Yeah, that's right.
I got to admit, it was a funny movie. I saw it. I laughed. I enjoyed it. But it seems like that was the grand finale, the final send-off of Baywatch. Classic 80s drama Baywatch is being considered for a remake by Fremantle. I guess it's a production company. The company is in talks with various streamers and networks about the project, which currently has no creatives attached. In 2018, Fremantle International COO Bob McCourt mentioned the possibility of a reboot after remastering old episodes into high definition for sale to global broadcasters. So when I read this, I'm thinking there's something to that last word, global broadcasters. I don't think America cares about Baywatch. Maybe they think that this makes more sense for, international audiences.
Yeah, I feel like the people that would have been Baywatch fans back in the day, they've moved on to Real Housewives and shit like that. It's like a whole different genre that they're watching now. I don't feel that people are clamoring for more Baywatch, as evidenced by the results in the box office of that Baywatch movie.
Do you think it's something like, hey, Baywatch is for sale? Who wants to buy this license at a fire sale? Hey, I'll buy it. Now I have it. I better make a movie.
One of the funniest things I can recall in recent years that had to do with Baywatch was fucking Borat had that Baywatch coloring book with Pam Anderson. He became obsessed with her. He went and kidnapped her. That was probably the most recent Baywatch reference I can think of in Hollywood.
Well, I read this and I groaned. I was just like, come on, man. You guys aren't paying any attention to what people like. This was right for the time. I don't think it's right for this time. Find a new story. Find something that fits this time. Creating new iconic stuff. Don't just keep rehashing the shit that worked because it was right for the time that it was in.
Yeah, man. Goes back to what I said earlier. Can you move forward by going backward? I don't know. It's very rarely can you recapture lightning in a bottle.
Well, Scott, I really want to thank you for keeping the show moving along. As I said, I had a couple drinks before the show. It's very unprofessional of me. But what I didn't tell you guys, because weed is legal out here in California.
Oh, yeah.
So, was it a good show?
I had fun. That's all that really matters, right?
That's all that matters. We didn't have a main segment today.
No, didn't need one. Had one ready to go. Didn't even pull it out of the holster. Sometimes the main segment's just a drunk Bill in the Hollywood Hills.
Oh, you know a drunk Bill. This ain't a drunk Bill, but this could be one. This Bill is ready for bed. And I'm 3 hours behind you. I'm going to be in bed like 5. You're going to be in bed like...
I think a drunk Bill would be too far off the rails and would not make for a good podcast. That would be a lot of editing.
No. Yeah, drunk Bill has been put to sleep probably for the rest of his life.
Okay. All right. I'll hold you to that.
Yeah, Buzzed Bill. He's still hanging around.
All right, man. Well, thank you for taking time out of your trip here to hop on here and do a show. And yeah, good times, man. Safe travels. And we'll see you when you get back to the Eastern Standard Time Zone.
I can't wait to come home.
Oh, shit.